So WWE 2K25, they're saying it returns bigger, bolder, and better than ever. A breakthrough year for the franchise. Now, what does that mean? We're going to discuss the possibility of what that could mean, but let's go over to X and I'll show you a quick thing before we get started here. Alright, over here on X, Hip Hop Gamer has posted this. He says, breaking news, WWE will also feature intergender matches, and the graphics is better and gameplay is smoother. But the big thing is here is 2K25 will officially introduce a city to play in, just like NBA 2K series. Now, if you watch this video, this is what he thinks that it is, because he had an interview with Brian Williams, I think it was last year for 2K24, and he asks, what thing would you like to add to the game that you didn't get to add this year? And he kind of says a match type, right? He kind of tries to hide what he's saying. But Hip Hop Gaming here comes to the conclusion that it's got to be a city mode. And this is just speculation. This is just a rumor. Well, I guess we'll find out on the 28th. And if they have that city mode, you can't really have gender restrictions because you really limit the mode if you do that. So let's go over to YouTube, and I'll show you this mode, this trailer I found, because I didn't even know this mode existed because I don't play the NBA games. But let's look at this mode, and I want to give you my thoughts on how it's going to work. Because I thought about this. I'm like, wait a minute. How is this going to work in a WWE game, like a wrestling game? It's not that far-fetched, and I think they can get it done. All right, so here's the city mode here. Obviously, basketball. They have courts all over through the city, like in New York and stuff like that. Obviously, this is probably a made-up city. But I was thinking, like, how would that work with wrestling rings? Well, if they're going to gamify it this year and not focus on the realism and how it really works in the show, they can get away with stuff. They can come up with some cool, like, made-up arenas, cool locations, which I love, because in 2K20, I love that. I mean, look at this. They got giant robots in the background, like an industrial robot camp, a pirate yard. If they can get away with it in the NBA games, why can't they get away with it in the 2K games or the wrestling games? It's the same company, 2K. And they have a lot of the same assets. So they could just bring the assets over to the WWE games. It's not that far-fetched of an idea from Hip Hop Gamer that this is what they're talking about. I think he's onto something. I can't wait for the 28th, because if this is it, this is huge. This could change everything. But does this mean that they're going to remove the My Faction mode and just replace it with this? So let's do a breakdown real quick, because as you can see, it shows your character, your NPC, well, your actual player character, walking around this cool arena, and you go to all these different spots, and they have, you know, NBA courts, basketball courts all over the place. And it got me thinking, like, how would that work in a wrestling thing? Well, if they make an original wrestling city, there's a lot they can do. There's a lot of freedom they have with that for the story mode or whatever mode this is. Maybe this is the menu, and this is what you do. You just walk around the menu. That'd be awesome. And then you go to Exhibition, you go to My Gym, you go to Universe mode, you go to My Faction. You go to all these different things, and you activate it that way, rather than just another boring menu that we look at on the main screen. So the way this could work, and we're going to jump around here, obviously you have all this, and this could be really big for online play, if you think about that. Because if they have this mode and city you can walk around in, your friend could probably come in and join you and walk around with you with their created character. That would be freaking awesome. Hopefully they don't limit it to just the in-game wrestlers to start. Hopefully it's open and free so you can use your created wrestlers. If I can walk around as my Mohawk Strider character, I'm going to have a blast. I'm going to play the crap out of this game. Anyway, so let's go. So there, obviously emotes, stuff like that, social aspect of it. They could sell taunts and all that kind of stuff. They can kind of use the Fortnite aspect of it. The arenas can be like they show, like a pirate arena, like big, I don't know why they have a big robot factory. That was pretty cool. And then here's a good shot. Where's that shot I just saw? Let's play this for a second. And right here, they got like a beach, wrestling ring on the beach. In the indies, there's wrestling shows in carnivals. There's wrestling shows anywhere they can put a wrestling ring and put on a show. they're going to do it, especially in the indie scene, because not everybody can afford to rent an arena or a place, a warehouse, to put on a show. We had a show in DOA Pro Wrestling that took place under a bridge in Portland, Oregon, the Burnside Bridge. If you know, you know. And that was probably one of the funnest shows I was ever a part of. I was a ref for that show, and there was a lot of hardcore matches in it. They had a huge like hardcore battle royal to determine the number one contender. They just grabbed whatever they could off the streets and weapons, and there was, you know, the fence around it with the barbed wire. It was so cool. It's like something out of a movie. It felt like, oh, should we be doing this type of thing? It felt like something out of Lionheart, where he goes around and fights all these guys illegally on the streets. It kind of felt like that, and it had this really cool atmosphere. It's one of the most fun shows we ever had. If they can recreate that in this, that would be pretty cool. And the way they could go about this, it was like one of two ways. These all zones could be with created wrestlers that they make up, or randoms, right? Or they could have zones where, let's say, there's a Rhea Ripley area, and you have to go fight your way to her to take over her area, right? And then she becomes your tag team partner, or whatever, your buddy. They could have it where there's the Ultimate Warrior, like Legends and stuff. I don't know if they'll do Legends. They can make it to where Cody's like has this huge awesome area, and he could be like the final boss, you know, whatever. And that's another thing. He mentions the final boss character he wants to add to the game. What if The Rock is the big bad of the city, right? Because he does have that show Ballers, right? There's so many ways they can go about this. It has me finally excited for 2K25. I've been lacking motivation because I feel like it's going to be the same thing. But this idea really just has me super excited if this is the case. And I understand, like, if they do this, how can they have gender restrictions? Because, like I said, if there's a Rhea Ripley, I mean, are they going to have everybody in the city be dudes or women? Or are they just going to lock off certain spots or just replace it? Let's say if it's Rhea Ripley, they replace it with Damian Priest, or, you know, vice versa, based on whatever character you are, male or female, right? So it just has me wondering how they're going to go about it if they do it, but it's not impossible. And that's what has me excited. Wrestling games have been lacking innovation for years. Something like this would be a breakthrough. Let's go back to that quote. Something like that would be a bigger, bolder, and better than ever breakthrough year for the franchise. Their slogan that they're using for this year's game. So, I don't know. I'm actually pretty excited now for this. My question is it going to replace My Faction? And if so, how are they going to do that? Because everybody and their grandmother hates the current setup for My Faction. I know that's a separate company that makes that. It'll probably still be there in some form. It's just you access it differently or something instead of it just being a separate menu. I hope this is the case, because My Rise, even though the storylines are really good, the way it's set up is so boring and a slog to get through, because it's literally just menu based. You go here, menu, activate match, menu, activate match, menu, and it's hard to get through, especially when they want you to play through it multiple times to unlock everything. What was it? 2K22, I did everything. I beat both My Rises. I got the platinum. I literally did everything in that game. 2K23, I didn't do everything. I beat the Min storyline, you know, The Lock, which was actually kind of funny. But I started getting really bored with it pretty quick because of the way it's set up. I was like hoping they'd change it to where you can walk around and free roam. Hopefully that's the case in 2K25. Now, in 2K23, I couldn't finish the women's storyline. I couldn't stand the main character, your character's voice, so I didn't get through that. In 2K24, I played all the way up until Survivor Series, and the match has like a checklist of things you have to do to complete the match, to win the match. And of course, when you're in the match, I kind of got carried away and played it and won the match, but it said I failed. And I had to redo the entire 30 to 40 minute match. To me, that killed the mode for me, and I didn't finish it this year, or in 2K24. I did not finish the men's My Rise, and I started and didn't finish the women's one either. I might go back and play those leading up to 2K25, but as of the making of this video, I didn't get through them because the menu-based system, the way they have it set up, it feels like a slog to me. And they did the same thing in showcase mode, where you have to meet all these stipulations to finish the match, although you can just beat it if you just want to get through it. But if you want to unlock everything, unless you buy the $120 edition, which unlocks everything in there, then you have to play through it, which is annoying because it didn't unlock all the arenas with that purchase. It only unlocked all the wrestlers. So anyway, how do you feel about this? Do you think this city mode is going to be the new breakout thing? Or do you think it's just going to be the same thing, same game, and that city mode is in the works in the background? Do you think Hip Hop Gamer's onto something? Sound off the comments below. And as always, stay friendly.